Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to do a tutorial on SQL limit, the limit keyword, and it's a very useful thing in MySQL, and I'm going to give you several examples and teach you all about it. Everything you need to know. So we'll use MySQL Workbench. I'll show you using MySQL in the terminal, and I'll show you using an interactive SQL site. So let's get started. So the first thing is I'll explain about the SQL limit statement. In a nutshell, the limit clause is a way to restrict or limit the number of rows of output. It will give you at most the first n rows, where n is the number you specify after the keyword limit. It is useful if you have a lot of rows of output to deal with, and it is also a way to limit duplicate rows if you use limit 1. And for example, a lot of rows, I'll give you an example with more than 100,000 rows. And so limiting the number of rows can be very useful. The basic form is basically any SQL query ending with limit n, where n is a positive integer. And limit n will always be the last part of an SQL statement if you choose to use it. So this is an example, select star from your table, limit 5. That means if there's 5 or more rows, it'll just get 5 rows. And there could actually, if this has less than 5 rows, limit 5 will basically not help you, but this will just give you at most 5 rows. Limit will never give you more rows than the actual query. So again, let's say that if this was even just 1 row, limit 5 would not help it. But it would limit it to 5 if there was 5 or more. Okay, and then this one here is similar if we have a salary table, limit 10. And I'll show you here we have a salary table, and for example here if we want to limit to the first 10 rows, we would get something like this. If we wanted to select all, we would get all of these rows, all 17 data rows. But if we say limit 10, we would just get these. And similarly, if we said, for example, select name, gender, yearly salary from salary, limit 5, what that would do is get these columns and limit it to 5 rows. So I said name, gender, yearly salary. So we would get this, this, and this, these columns, and it would only give us these first 5 rows. So it would look like that. So that's the data we would get. And again, like I mentioned, we're going to do some examples here later. Okay, let's get started with MySQL Workbench. So again, this is a table. I've called it salary, and I made a salary table in a database. This is just the person's name, their career, yearly salary, gender, age, and age group. And let's get started. So if we want to show all the rows and all the data from that table, you can do a select star from the table, in this case select star from salary, and note that we have 17 rows. But what if we want to limit it to just 5 rows? We can do the same thing and add limit 5 or limit anything, just as long as, so again there's 17 rows. It would only really be useful if we said basically limit the maximum. If we go more than 17, it's not going to be really useful. So anyway, that's limit 5. Let's say we wanted it to limit just 2. If we wanted to limit it to just 2, then it'll just give us 2. I'll go back to, again, let's say we want to limit 10. This gives us 10. I'll go back to 5. So here, limit 5. Now let's select these columns. So the name column, gender column, career, age, yearly salary, from salary, Okay, this was something, if we want to order it by age, so if we want to go from youngest to oldest, we see we have all this data here. So this person's 23, the person is the youngest, and the oldest is Wayne at 75. But let's say we want to do the same thing, but we want to limit it to just 10 people. This query here is the so this part query is the same as here. I just broke it up into multiple lines so it's easier to see. So again, select these columns from this table, and this means basically sort it by age in ascending, but we're going to limit it to 10 rows. People with the highest income down to the people with the lowest income. So this person makes the most, and this is the second highest down to here. These two people make the least per year. Now let's say we want to do the same thing, except we want to limit it to 7 rows, and let's do that. And what do you know? We have 7 rows. So this person makes the most, and this person makes the 7th most. So I think this is still a respectable salary. And then this person makes quite a lot, way more than most people. And again, that was just from this table. So there's so much you can do even with a simple table with SQL. Now let's do let's use a much larger database. So this is a star database, and basically it has a lot of information about stars. It has these columns. I won't explain all these because it would take time. You can check this out and pause the video if you want to read more about this. But basically there's the star name and parsecs from Earth, light years from Earth, the constellation full name, and the apparent magnitude, which means basically the brightness as seen from Earth. And the smaller this number would mean the higher the brightness as seen from Earth. So let's select all. Okay, and one thing to note is that in MySQL Workbench, we actually have this thing that says limit to 1,000 rows by default, and that's actually a similar, I think that is actually using this command, the limit command, but I'm going to say don't limit just to show you here, because there's more than 100,000 rows, and I want to show you why this command is very useful. Okay, so we've got quite a lot of rows, again more than 100,000. And MySQL Workbench actually kind of froze on me for a few moments because there's so many rows. So there's almost 120,000 rows, or anyway, more than 100,000 rows, approaching 120,000 rows. And when you do have so many rows, for example, in an Excel file or even SQL, it can actually, the system can go quite slow. So this is another reason why to use the limit statement. So anyway, there's more than 100,000 rows in this. And just to show you here, this statement, the count star, what that does actually is it tells us that how many rows exactly are in that query. So this just tells us exactly how many rows are in basically this query. So there's quite a lot of rows. And now again, dealing with so many different rows can be a problem for a lot of different reasons. So this is one reason why having limit is so useful. Now let's limit it to just 5 rows. Okay, this is a thing I wanted to mention is that this one only give us actually 1 row. So giving us limit 5 won't actually help us. It'll still only give us 1 row. Let's go back to this one here. Instead of over 100,000 rows, let's limit it to just 100 rows. And note here, when I can scroll down, I only get 100 rows. So that's very useful. So it's much easier to deal with 100 rows than over 100,000. Okay, now this statement is saying select the star name, the light years from Earth, the constellation full name, and apparent magnitude from the star data, and this is going to give us, again, more than 100,000 rows. I won't sort it because it might slow it down a lot. This one also has more than 100,000 rows, but this one here, we'll just limit it to, and if I just want to scroll down, I guess because this column is not aligned, you can't see, but there are more than 100,000 rows. This one here, we're going to do the same one, except now we're going to limit it to just 100 rows. And note that we have just 100 rows, so it's very useful. And now let's do this one here. Let's do a similar query, but now let's order by light years from Earth ascending. So basically get the closest stars and then ending with the stars furthest away. And of course our sun is the closest, and then the next closest would be Proxima Centauri. And then these three stars are actually part of a trinary system. So they're the closest stars to us. And then that still also gives us more than 100,000 rows. But if we want to do this, limit to just 100 rows, note that we have just 100 rows, and it's very useful. Okay, now running out of time. Let's see here. We'll do another one here. Let's do this one here. We'll do a group by. So let's group by the average light years from Earth for constellations and order by the average light years from Earth. So this still gives us a lot of, this gives us 72. So 72 constellations and the average light years from Earth. But let's say that we wanted to limit that. We didn't want 72 rows. Let's say we wanted just 50 rows. And note here we have just 50. Okay, now I wanted to show you one thing before we go, is that you can run this code and do the same things I did before, but in a web browser. So this one selects all the data from the salary table. It's the same data as here. And for example, but let's say we wanted to run this query but limit it to just 5 rows. We can do limit 5 and see we only have 5 rows. Similarly, let's select these columns, the name, gender, career, age, yearly salary, from salary, order by age. So what that does is basically get the rows and sort them from youngest to oldest. So this person's the youngest, this person's the oldest. Wayne is the oldest and Cheryl is the youngest. And similarly, the same query, I just broke it up over a few different lines. Let's say we want just 10 rows. So if we're going to uncomment all of these, we want just 10 rows. So this has all the rows. If we want just 10 rows, notice we have fewer rows. And I think we can do one more here or we run out of time. So this query will sort by the yearly salary, basically from highest income to lowest income. And then this one will sort it the same query, except we will limit it to just 7 people. And let's do that here. Okay, fantastic. And if you go to just this URL, you can copy this and you can paste it in and you can run it on your own. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. This video was a quick tutorial on the SQL limit statement. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you enjoyed it, please subscribe to or follow this channel, and see you in the next one. Thank you.